You know, ever since I was a kid, I had always been struggling with my weight. And I wasn't like obese or anything like that, but it was enough for me to not make me feel comfortable in my own body. And you know, at the time as well, I was also addicted to video games and eating junk food. They had become my best friends over the years. And it was obvious to people around me as well, because they could just tell by the way that I looked. I grew up as a pretty shy and, you know, insecure kid. So naturally for me, I just kept to myself. I like to think that I was the same way, you know, just like a chameleon. You know, the chameleon just blends into their environment to not get unnecessary attention towards it. I was acting the same way because I didn't want people to have a reason, you know, whatsoever to judge me. I remember looking at the kids that were skinnier than me at school and just wishing that I could swap bodies with them. Almost every single time that I came home from school, I was just mentally fatigued in general because I was always thinking, you know, that people were looking at me, and that only made things worse because for me to cope, I indulged even more in the bad habits like the video games and junk food, like I mentioned. At the time as well, my dad saw that I was really struggling. So, you know, he thought to himself, hey, why don't I just bring him to the gym and see what happens? I remember specifically when he talked about going to the gym with me when I was about 13 or 14, the anxiety and just, you know, the thoughts of people paying more attention to me because I was a bit overweight. It got so bad that I literally started crying before we even went there in the first place. That is how bad it actually was. If you want my personal help to build a physique that you are finally proud of, just like I have right here, where you don't have to feel anxious about your looks anymore, but rather be confident and comfortable instead, then click the first link in the description right now. It wasn't until years later, when I was about 17 or so, when I actually decided to do something about it. And you know, you just get to the point where you're so damn fed up of the current situation that you're in, that you just have to figure it out in one way or another. There's a quote that I really love about this, and it's change comes when the pain of staying the same is worse than the pain of change. And I personally had experienced this pain of staying the same for years and years and years now. And it got to the point where I just couldn't take it anymore and something had to happen. So what did I do? I decided to look up local gyms in my area and just go for it. So that's exactly what I did. I was in high school at the time, and luckily the gym that I signed up to, you know, had multiple locations. And one of them was literally like 5 minutes from my school. So the plan was, you know, finish school and then straight away just go to the gym afterwards. I remember the first day like it was literally yesterday. I had just finished school and I was leaving through the main entrance. I had brought some gym clothes with me and I was so excited to finally take action. I was walking towards the gym, and as I got closer and closer, this weird feeling started to slowly grow inside of me. My brain started to race. And I just knew that something wasn't right. But for some reason, the feeling felt familiar to me. And that was because I had experienced it before. It was my good old friend, anxiety. I had literally no idea whatsoever what I was going to do at the gym. And that was why I felt so anxious. I hadn't done like any research whatsoever on, you know, basic exercises or just how to get into the gym as a beginner. I just signed up and went in completely blind. I remember stepping inside and I was so nervous to talk to the receptionist at the desk. And now, of course, it didn't help me as well that she was really attractive. I was a pretty socially awkward person just as is. So you can just imagine the way that I felt. I went into the locker room and I got changed. I stepped out on the gym floor and it was literally packed with people everywhere. I think it was rush hour at the time, so there was literally like no space whatsoever to do any of the exercises. The first day, I think I only was in the gym for like 15 minutes or so, literally just doing bicep curls. And the only reason I knew how to do bicep curls was because there was this huge guy, you know, standing at the dumbbell rack doing them. So I just went over there and copied him because I wanted to look like him. Even though I was only in the gym for like 15 minutes or so, I still felt proud of myself afterwards because this was one step in the right direction. However, I remember shortly after that day, my excitement just wasn't the same anymore because of this one thing: social media. That leads me on to one of the main problems that I faced when I wanted to lose weight. And that was that you compare yourself way too much to everyone else, especially on social media. You know, you see people making so much faster progress than you. They have the lifestyle that you want, and they have the body of basically your dreams. This became a problem to me because I was literally blinded of my own progress. You know, I did a good thing of trying to go to the gym and actually make a change, but compare that to people on social media, and it was literally nothing. It always used to make me feel like I never did enough. Because of this problem, I started doing one of the worst things that you could possibly do as a beginner, and I want you to avoid this as well, and that is to rush and do more than your body can handle at the time. You know, I was so eager to make progress as fast as possible that my body just couldn't handle it. I would do great for like 1 or 2 weeks, you know, eating better and working out, but I just did it too aggressively and too fast, to the point that my body burned out and I ended up quitting instead. And this mistake I kept on doing for literally years and years before I started making progress. So that's why I really want you to think about this. I would do everything consistently for 2 weeks, like I mentioned, but then I would end up quitting. And when I started, you know, a couple of months later again, I didn't learn from my mistake. And I kept wondering to myself, man, why don't I make any progress with my weight? This was one of the main reasons why. What I should have done instead, and I want you to do as well, is to take it slow. I know that sounds like the most boring and generic answer that you ever heard, but that is one thing that's actually going to make you see progress. You know, you have to gradually make yourself eat better and work out. You can't go from like this area here to this area here and expect yourself to stay consistent. It's just too much for your body to handle at the time. You have to remember that this is a completely new thing for your body. You know, before I started working out and taking my health seriously, my body was used to just sitting still for 10 hours straight playing video games and just eating shit food on a daily basis. So just the smallest change in that lifestyle was going to be a struggle for me. So that is the reason why you just can't rush ahead of yourself. Once I implemented this and started doing the right things consistently for a longer period of time, that was when things actually started going in the right direction for me. And on top of that, I also had to make a conscious effort to not compare my journey to anyone else's, because that was literally only gonna hurt me mentally more than anything else. However, if you are able to see the bodies that people have on Instagram and use it as motivation instead, then that's great and continue doing that. But if you are anything like me, it's only gonna cause more harm than good. I forget this from time to time, and I want you to remember this as well. Fitness is supposed to be something that you do for the rest of your life, in one way or another. So there's just no reason for you to do it for a couple of months, let's say, and then end up quitting. The main thing is, we want to build a body that we're proud of, sure, but we want to stay healthy as well, right? So why rush the process? You will see the results that you desire as long as you put in the work consistently over a longer period of time. You can't just go crazy for, 2 weeks, overwhelm yourself and end up quitting, because at that point, you are basically just wasting your time. A mindset that really helped me with my weight loss, and I know it will help you as well, is to not think about fitness in years, months, or even weeks, but actually in days. Let me explain. Good years, what are they made of? Good months. What are good months made of? Good weeks. What are good weeks made of? Good days. If you put your focus on just the day ahead of you and make sure that you do the work that's necessary without you even noticing, a couple of months will have passed and you will look like a completely different person. Trust me when I say this time passes way faster than you actually think. This was one of the key things that I personally followed to take my body from this to looking like this. Fitness is supposed to be simple, but when we start out as a beginner, we tend to just complicate it for ourselves because we are so damn eager to make progress. When in reality, we should just start slow, get used to doing the basics, and stay consistent. If you want my personal help to build a physique that you are actually proud of, where you will get more respect and attention from everyone around you, especially when it comes to girls, then click the first link in the description right now. And thanks for watching.